Welcome to Inspiring Narratives, your favorite channel for uplifting stories, renewed hope, and cultivating a deeper connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Discover with me how turning to Allah can lead you to amazing changes in your life. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. We are back with more wonderful stories that will, by the grace of Allah, strengthen your faith and renew your hope, inshallah. Let's start by sending peace and blessings on our beloved Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Say it with me. Allahumma salli wa sallim wa barik ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa ashabi ajma'in. Grab a cup of your favorite drink, tea, coffee, or whatever it is you enjoy most, and let's get started. Saying La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah is detaching from your own perceived strengths. Some people insist on living by their own strengths. They think they will solve everything. In fact, worldly problems are difficult for you, but shaitan makes you think you can do it all by yourself with your own strength, your own skills, your money, your influence, etc. He tries to trick you because he doesn't want you to seek the help of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which will ultimately lead you to great success in all areas of your life. Thinking you can do everything by yourself without the help of Allah is delusion. You won't find solutions by yourself. Don't live in this world alone. Live with Allah's power and might. There's a dua of our beloved Prophet Muhammad which I absolutely love. It's one of my favorite duas, which says, O ever living, O sustainer of all, by your mercy I seek help. Set all my affairs right, and do not leave me to myself even for the blink of an eye. I believe most of you know this dua. Ya Hayy Ya Qayyum برحمتك استغيث اصلح لي شأني كله ولا تكلني إلى نفسي طرفة عين. Such a beautiful dua. Amr Khalid, an Egyptian Islamic preacher, talks about an experience he once had, and I believe it's an important one to share. He says, once I had a problem that kept getting worse and more complicated. I'd get very stressed about it and the situation would get worse. I would insist that I'm going to solve it, I'm going to fix it, but it would only get more complicated. So I understood that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was sending me a message. So I held my prayer beads and repeated, La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. Still my mind persistent, but I continued to repeat, La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah, really feeling the words. And I found myself saying, Release me from my strengths to your power and might. And I started crying. I found myself saying, I have abandoned my own strengths for your strength and might. I have abandoned my own strengths for your strength and might. And I cried and cried. I swear by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, my problem was resolved. What does La hawla wa la quwwata actually mean? We know the translation of the words, but it means there's no power over who harms you and no might over who helps you except with Allah. There's no power over all evil or might over all blessings except with Allah. There's no power over your obstacles or your ability to succeed except with Allah. Abandon your own strengths and seek Allah's power and might. As the hadith mentions, saying La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah is a cure for 99 sicknesses, the most minor being sorrow and depression. Because when you rely on Allah's power and might, the worries vanish. When you begin to live by Allah's might and power, your world will change. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sometimes does things to tell you to live by His strength and not to rely on yourself. When you find yourself in a difficult situation and it seems like you're stuck and there's no way out, it's impossible, that's your sign to start living by the power and strength of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and not your own. I hope this has encouraged you to reflect deeply and gain a more profound understanding of the phrase La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. Okay, moving on to our story for today. A sister says, I've been listening to many Dhikr success stories and the stories have really inspired me and made a difference in my life. From the first story I heard, I had this feeling that someday I'd have my own story to tell. And now I do, alhamdulillah. I'm married, things are generally good. But there's always been this one thing that's been bothering me. For the past 2 years, this problem in particular has been weighing me down. I assumed it was impossible to solve. But after hearing all these wonderful and inspiring success stories of how people's lives have changed, I started to believe that maybe my situation could change too. So I started reciting La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah, meaning there's no change or strength except through Allah. And I would repeat it every day with the intention that this problem would be fixed. The issue was a fallout between my husband and my father over money. It was so bad that they hadn't spoken in 2 years. No holidays together, nothing. When I'd go to see my family, the visits were short, and I hated that. I wanted my family to get along, like my siblings' families, who always have fun together. But honestly, the conflict between my husband and father seemed impossible to fix. Still, I kept up with my daily dhikr, the reciting of the hawqala, holding on to hope. Then, unbelievably, just 20 days into reciting it 3,000 times a day, things started to shift. A family meeting happened, and the tension between my husband and my father eased. The problem that seemed so huge at the time was resolved just like that. Now things are all back to normal, and I can finally spend time with both my family and my husband, all of us together. Our first Ramadan together in 2 years was such a blessing, and I felt so happy. That experience gave me confidence to ask for more of the things I'd been wishing for. I had been living far from my family because of my husband's job, and for 3.5 years we'd been trying to get a transfer back to my hometown with no luck. But after experiencing the blessings of La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah with the first problem I had, I stuck with it. Not long after, my husband's transfer was approved, and we moved closer to my family. I was over the moon. Everything I've been dreaming of started to happen, and now, whenever I want something, I immediately start reciting the hawqala. Things just fall into place. It's not just me seeing the results, my sister is experiencing them too. One of my sisters has been married for 12 years, but her life has been filled with misery because of how terribly her in-laws treat her. While her husband is a good man, her mother-in-law has been a nightmare. I suggested she started reciting La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah after hearing about similar stories. And incredibly, within just 3 days, her mother-in-law's behavior completely changed. She began inviting my sister over, treating her kindly, and including her in everything. Now my sister's confidence has grown. Her relationship with her children has improved, and she's become a much stronger person overall. The transformation that La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah brings is unreal. My elder sister also experienced something incredible. Her 10-year-old son was super difficult, constantly getting into trouble and stressing her out. She used to pray for him all the time, but nothing changed. So I suggested she try reciting La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah with the intention of his guidance. And he totally turned around. Everyone was amazed at how well behaved he became. Another sister had been struggling to find a job for 3 years after graduating. She kept applying but never got accepted anywhere. There was this one job she really wanted. It was perfect for her in every way, but they rejected her. I encouraged her to try again, and before she submitted her application, I told her to spend the night reciting La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. The next day, she applied again and they accepted her on the spot. It was a miracle. And then there's this older woman also, a religious woman who prays regularly. She applied for Hajj 3 years ago, but wasn't accepted. This year she started reciting La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah with the intention that her situation would ease. And guess what? She was accepted for Hajj. She also had a son who had been really difficult and selfish despite her raising him well. She used to want to make dua against him out of frustration, but held back and just kept praying for him instead. After reciting La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah for him, he completely changed. He became respectful, kind, and even apologized for how he used to treat her. Now they have a great relationship and she's so happy. She advises other mothers in similar situations to never make dua against their children, but instead turn to Allah in prayer and dhikr. Honestly, the stories are endless. There are so many blessings that come from dhikr, especially la hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. It can change your life, your situation, and even your relationships. I'm so grateful that I've been able to see the effects of la hawla wa la quwwata illa billah and be part of helping others realize the same. I'm confident that more stories will come from people who've seen their lives transformed just by keeping up with this simple practice. If you're struggling with anything in your life, start now. Recite la hawla wa la quwwata illa billah with full faith and conviction and watch how things change. I promise you'll be amazed. This brings us to the end of this video. I hope you enjoyed the stories. If you found any value in this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and share it with your family and friends. And if you'd like to see more of these videos, then consider subscribing. I'd love to hear your thoughts, so do leave a comment below. I'll see you in the next video. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.